Good morning, Chasm listeners. This is Kelly Molitor from the Stearns County Soil and Water Conservation District with this week's Conservation Report. First off, I'd like to start talking about frost seeding for pasture improvement and renovation. This comes from a Cover Crop Strategies weekly digest where they talk about how to establish legumes, grasses during early spring. So frost seeding, for those of you that maybe aren't as familiar, is the seeding of legumes and grasses on the soil when it is frozen during late winter and early spring. With frost seeding, the seed becomes buried in the soil through alternating freezing and thawing events. When favorable temperatures, 45 degrees Fahrenheit and above, occur, the seed germinates and emerges, and it is considered a simple, low-cost approach to improve pastures and to add red clover to overwintering grains. Establishing nitrogen-fixing legumes provides additional advantages when fertilizer prices, like they are now, are high, and they allow nitrogen to be fixed from the atmosphere and can replace at least a portion of costly nitrogen fertilizer. Frost seeding is often recommended for pasture improvement or renovation when tillage or using a no-till drill is not practical. The probability of successful frost seeding, is typically less than conventional spring seeding because you aren't preparing a seed bed or using a drill that ensures better seed-to-soil contact. We have, however, observed seedling survival rates from up to 60% with frost seeding. The number of freeze-thaw cycles is an important factor influencing the success, but other critical management considerations to include improving seed-to-soil contact after seeding, which could be, putting the cattle out there with that hoof traffic to kind of help get the seed kind of pushed into the ground here in the early spring. And then also removing any senesced vegetation, and that can also help improve seed-to-soil contact. And improving initial establishment with rotational grazing. After germination, the new seedlings are at a competitive disadvantage for light and moisture compared to the established grasses in the sod. So short interval rotational grazing to a 4-inch height in the spring and summer when the grass canopy reaches a 10-inch height helps the new seedlings get established as competition from the established sod is reduced. Pasture productivity and forage quality can be best improved by introducing perennial legumes. Legumes have potential to fix nitrogen from the air to be used for their own growth. An average rate of biological nitrogen fixation for most legumes in pure stand is between 50 to 100 pounds in N per acre. Legumes contain more protein than grasses. They're more palatable and have a higher digestibility than grasses. Red and white clover are relatively the easiest to establish since they can tolerate low pH and fertility and have a high number of seeds per pound. That means, fewer pounds go a long way. So seeding 3 to 4 pounds of each legume in a mixture will provide well over 80 seeds per square foot of seed. So seeding rates can be increased to allow for challenging seedbed conditions, though. And then also introducing new grasses into pastures has its benefits as well, rather than just the legumes, if there's considerable open space available. However, all grass pastures will still need nitrogen fertilizers to be productive, so it may be advantageous to establish like a grass-legume mix. Annual and perennial ryegrass are typically the easiest to establish for the grass species since they have high seedling vigor. Orchard grass also has a good seedling vigor and can be frost seeded and will offer greater long-term persistence than the ryegrasses. On top of that, after everything's kind of established and, spring gets going, you can do some soil sampling after the seeding just to see what the fertility is out there. If you're not wanting to limit your forage yield on your potential pastures, to just kind of identify pH, phosphorus, potassium, or sulfur levels, because that can really affect your plant vigor as well. Finally, just be patient with frost seeding because of all the factors that I just kind of listed with, that it's, kind of a waiting game. There is, risk of establishment failure just because you're not getting maybe the best seed-to-soil contact, but it does work advantageous in those, like we mentioned, when you're unable to do tillage or, you don't have a no-till machine at your disposal. And it will require maybe 60 days to observe any like appreciable new growth for the forage. I mean, if you're looking for more on this topic, there's also lots of good information on the University of Minnesota's website under frost seeding forages.